Well, let me finish with this.
No pressure.
They both like chess. They don't involve any running or fighting or other
Physicality.
strenuous physical activity. But after concerted efforts from parties in this industry for like many years, in 2018 the esport has become a demonstration event in the Jakarta and Asian Games in Indonesia, and it is what it is now is an official medal event in this year's Hangzhou Asian Games.
Yeah.
So it has really come a long way over these years. So
this is a huge leap forward, right? To have esports recognized at a major games like this is a huge step forward for
I'm really happy to
the
see
sport.
it. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying I don't see it as a sport, but I guess that's the debate we're currently having. So forgive my gesture. Forgive my gesture.
But I mean, esports. I get it. It has this, competitive nature.
And a huge fan base.
Yeah.
I mean, the stadiums normally sell out. This is what blows my mind. These stadiums pack like 40,000 people watching people play video games.
Yes,
it's incredible, the fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it, the competitive nature.
Yeah.
Players battle for the actual championship. But yeah, I guess it doesn't really involve a lot of physical activity.
This is my thing though, like at a games where sports are the main element of the games, like the Olympics and the Asian Games, yes, there's competitiveness, but there's also other elements that make it a sport.
Yeah.
Because technically you could also have people baking and trying to make the best cake, and they also take it really seriously and it's very competitive, but like, is that a sport? So what would your counter argument to that be, Tianyu?
That's what I mean also.
Yeah. It's competitive, but it's not like a sport, I suppose. Or is it?
There are physical activities if you count, the flicking of your wrist or the tiny subtle touch.
Just the mental focus that it requires.
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's hugely taxing on the mind.
On the keyboards and mice.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That Brandon just mentioned an important point that I'm going to make to prove my point. Yeah, you guys, if you look up the word sport in dictionary,
Yes, tell
you're going
me.
to be scarred now.
I mean, I'm a sports host. I might as well know what sports means.
Of a sport is an activity that you do for pleasure and that needs physical effort or skill, usually done in a special area and according to fixed rules. That's my point. So
I saw physical effort there,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah,
That
a lot
was
of
one
people-
of the first terms mentioned.
a lot of people would argue that, esport is not a sport like you because of a lack of physical effort or skill. But actually, playing as a professional esport player, it costs a lot of energy during games. It involves a lot of mental efforts and also a lot of skills that you need to conquer, to learn to be among those top class players. It takes a lot of efforts.
To be fair as well, there are sports that are considered traditional sports that also require a similar level of concentration and effort that aren't necessarily that physical. I think of maybe the likes of cricket, bowls, curling.
Yeah.
Very competitive, definitely sports, but don't require that much physical effort.
Yeah.
So can we see esports as a sport in that sense?
Yeah, of course. And professional esport player, they have to think about the next move throughout the whole game all the time.
It's very tactical.
Yeah,
right?
you need to predict where your opponent's gonna be.
And quick thinking.
Yeah, quick thinking. You need to be careful about the movements your character is gonna make throughout the game. And one single mistake is gonna cost the whole game. Yeah, so you need to be cautious
so the pressure,
all the time.
mentally must
the
be.
mental pressure.
And a lot of the athletes are kids.
Yeah.
So it's very intense for them as well.
Take League of Legends as an example. In this game, it has 3 lanes and a jungle, and it's gonna be tough for you. And each player taking...
If it was real, it sounds very physically demanding. You know what I mean?
Each player taking different roles in this game map. They have to think about different things in their minds constantly in the game. Like the top laner, he has to think about how to solo kill his counterpart during a game, or how to get more goals. And also the jungler needs to think about how to expand the advantage his teammates have secured, or how to turn the tide when the game is not in their favor.
Are these strategies determined beforehand, or does it happen only when the game starts?
No, there's a coach that can set strategies before the game. They've set the draft and the ban picks, choose the characters that they want, and they have a strategy for them. But in the game is changing all the time. The tempo, you need to make some adaptations to your strategy according to the game, the situation.
So you have to adapt to
Yeah.
whatever situation you're
Yeah.
presented with.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like
I'm
different
sweating just thinking about it.
different roles in a football game.
Yeah.
The defenders, midfielders,
Definitely.
and attackers. But
And how different teams have different approaches
Yeah,
to
yeah.
suit their style, perhaps, and to suit the players
but
that
the
they have.
question is, when you can actually play football on a proper football pitch, why you just sit back in a chair and in front of a video game and play football with a pair of controllers?
You can
want
make that
both.
argument with FIFA.
I want
Footballers, professional
Yeah.
footballers love playing FIFA.
Yeah,
I love playing NBA games on PlayStation, and when I love playing basketball in real life as well. So
Yeah.
that's a fair counterpoint.
Yeah.
I do agree, though, esports does require a lot of skills and talents in terms
And mental
of
fortitude.
yeah, in
Yeah.
terms of muscle injury, muscle
Memory?
memory,
Yeah,
yeah,
muscle memory.
and reaction time.
Yes.
It's something the traditional sports athletes work on all the time. For example, in basketball, if you want to be a good shooter, you need to shoot like a million times to build this muscle memory.
Absolutely, and rugby too. I mean, one of the best rugby players that's ever lived, Johnny Wilkinson, who had, I think, at almost 90% kick success record at the end of his career. He used to do 1,000 place kicks every single day of his life, including when he was a professional and once he had won the World Cup. And that's definitely got to do with muscle memory, and I'm sure
tiring.
something is similar
It's tiring.
With the
required
video
in
game.
video gaming.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, esports.
Just to make my point more convincing, there are actually a
Look
couple
at
of
how
more.
hard he is to convince us.
I love it. No, I love it when someone's passionate about something and defends it. It's fantastic. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, there are a
Yeah.
couple of more elements in e-sport that makes it more of a real sport. Real sport. First of all, injuries. You know, even though the
Come
players,
on. What injuries are we talking about in esports?
even though the players
A
are
broken
playing
finger, a broken wrist.
virtually, but the injuries that they have are real, man.
Yeah.
Just like any other sports.
I guess you can get hit by a thrown controller by a frustrated player.
No, stop joking. I'm talking serious.
All right,
You know,
all right,
playing
all
as a professional esport player can lead to many injuries. Like, you know, they have to sit in front of a computer for hours,
Yes.
for 8 hours or
that's
more
true.
a day, and they have to stay up late until midnight. So these kind of tiring practice routines can lead to many injuries in different body parts like waist, back,
Yeah.
and wrist. So yeah, these parts are very likely to have problems.
I guess it can also affect their day-to-day life if they're staying
Yeah.
up for hours on end playing video games, and then
Yes.
all of a sudden they need to drive somewhere or walk somewhere.
Yeah.
That could be something that they definitely need to keep aware of.
And my favorite League of Legends player with a game ID called Uzi, and he just retired 3 years ago because of a serious wrist injury, and he also got diabetes.
You see,
man.
a proper real athlete.
Look, I think.
When do they get diabetes?
Listen, I think some of those NFL defenders, I don't know what they're called, but those guys look pretty big to me. I think some of them probably have some heart issues because they don't need to be fit. They just need to be as giant as possible. You know, the defensive players.
Yeah.
Those guys are
They
not
have
fit at
a- Okay.
all. I
Yeah.
think some of them definitely have some heart issues.
Yeah.
But I think, just staying with esports, it doesn't require, this is my take on it, it doesn't require all elements of an athlete's abilities, but it definitely requires some of them. And I think that's the argument that esports should focus on. Look, it doesn't test your running or your jumping abilities, but sporting ability is not purely determined by that. There's other elements
Definitely.
of an athlete's makeup that make them athletes. And I think that esports can definitely claim one or two of them.
Yeah.
I agree. It's like something in between. Some parts of esports does contain sports elements, but some other parts are not really convincing. I would put it that way. But it's already an Asian game sport, so I think I will shut up and sit back and try to enjoy the game a bit.
Yeah, and look, it seems like we've said, it's got a massive fan base, and I think
Yeah.
that us traditionalists that love, sports that require physical activity, I think we're going to be blown away because I think when we get to Hangzhou, I think the fans of esports are going to take over the
Yeah.
games. I think that's going to be one of the standout elements of these games. I think the fans of esports are going to really show up.
Yeah, the tickets are really hard to get. I
Yeah.
can tell
And
you.
I know a lot of kids, Generation Z kids, are in my life. They are more excited about Asian games than I am because
because
their
of the
favorite professional players would be
Big
there.
business too for marketers, and for the athletes themselves. I think they also have potential to create really lifelong careers for themselves
Yeah.
too. So it's something that kids can look at, going forward as a really full-time career, which is very interesting. But Tianyu, I'm now going to return to traditional sports. And which teams and athletes are you most looking forward to, besides esports? Which athletes and teams are you most looking forward to seeing at the Asian Games in Hangzhou?
Sorry to let you down, but I'm still going to stick with esports.
We'll get to Yang Guang and we'll get to those other athletes. But yeah, let's hear some of the esports
I'm going
athletes.
to talk about a professional player that has been playing in this industry for like 10 years. He's it's a name that you will never miss when talking about this sport. It's Faker. His game ID is Faker. And if Michael Jordan is the god of NBA, he is the god of League of Legends.
You love esports, man. I love it. Comparing one of the athletes to Michael Jordan, I love the confidence.
Yeah, and he's widely regarded as the greatest player in this sport.
The GOAT.
Yeah, in history. He rose to fame at age of 17 by winning the World Championship in tournament in 2013. He was 17. Wow. It reminded me of Kylian
They
Mbappe.
seem to peak at their really young age, though.
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of these esports athletes, they seem to be at their best in their mid to late teens for some reason.
Yeah, because it's like a golden age for a player to have the best agility, to have the
And the least responsibilities in life, I guess, too, because they're still living at home. They don't have to pay for anything, so they can focus on the gaming.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I was probably the best FIFA player in my lifetime at
But
17.
it really takes courage to be a professional
Absolutely.
video game player.
and there's a lot of talent.
I think it's also rare for a lot of these athletes to reach the consistency that you're talking about there. So that's probably also something that's made them achieve GOAT status.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to touch on. Just like I mentioned, just like Kylian Mbappe, he rose to fame at an early age. And after that, he went on to win 2 more world championships in 2015 and 2016, and also a record 10 LCK titles, which is the tournament of his country, and also 2 mid-season invitational. So he's like a title-ridden man. And but what makes his name more remembered among all the League of Legends players is that he's got exquisite skills and astonishing agility, and he can like dodge attacks and spells and fool his opponents in the game. And so it's amazing to see how he has kept his form for so long after playing for 10 years as a professional player in the game. I've been playing this game for like 10 years, and I've got to tell you, my ability in the game now is really degrading.
Well, he's definitely someone we'll be looking out for at the games. And Yang Guang, from your side, any athletes, teams we have to keep our eyes on?
Yeah, I will stick to some traditional sports.
Please do.
First of all, I will definitely be watching tennis players from China. The Chinese contingent will be led by rising Chinese male players, Zhang Zhizhen and Wu Yibing, as well as the top women's player, Zheng Qingwen.
Yep.
And
She's been creating quite a splash this year.
Yeah.
She's been defeating some really high-level athletes.
Yeah, she actually just got her first WTA title in Baltimore. But for Wu Yibing particularly, it would be an interesting Asian Games for him because it's in his home city. He's a Hangzhou native. And also, I think the Chinese players are in high hopes of winning medals in Hangzhou. And also in badminton, we will definitely see a world-class games in Hangzhou because some of the top badminton shuttlers from the BWF Tour are from Asia. And the contest will be no easier than the World Championships. I'm really looking forward to seeing the battles between the likes of Chen Yufei, Kenny Yamaguchi, Tai Tzuyin, and PV Shindu of India in women's singles. And in men's singles, we have Shi Yuqi, Jing Ting, Kento Momota of Japan, and Li Zijia. So it's a very strong field.
Huge amount of talent.
So badminton would be one of the most competitive competitions in Hangzhou.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be looking forward to seeing some world-class athletes from all across the Asian continent. And of course, we will be wishing Team China the very best of luck at the 2023 Asian Games in Hangzhou. But that is all we have time for on this week's episode of Sideline Story. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will be back next week with our latest topic, and we'll see you then.
This is CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.